Hi, teddies. Is that what you guys are called? No? All right. My introduction to TED was 12 years ago when I was watching this movie called TED. And I thought TED Talks was the sequel to TED. Because TED talks in the movie. The movie is about a teddy bear that comes to life. So after a year of waiting for that sequel, I did some research and found out that TED Talks are innovative and motivational speeches that are meant to bring about a real change in the world and inspire people. I was extremely disappointed. I wanted my sequel to TED. Well, it's been 12 years. I've gone from watching movies to making them. I've gone from learning about TED Talks to giving one. And most importantly, there is a sequel to TED called TED 2. Exactly. When we are kids, we tend to look at the world with a certain kind of wonder. We think maybe teddy bears can come to life. We're stupid, but we believe. But then slowly we grow up, reality hits us like a truck, the magic of Maya fades, illusions break, and suddenly our lives turn mundane and sometimes even tragic. But what we tend to forget is that reality is stranger than fiction. Which brings me to today's topic, how to turn your mundane and tragic lives into fiction. That's me, by the way. Step 1, find your protagonist. You must be wondering who it is. Is it your crush? No. Is it your dog? I know how much you love your dog. It's not your dog. The answer is simple. You are the protagonist of your life. I know this sounds absurdly obvious, but this is one of those details that you need to be reminded of every once in a while. Your life revolves around you, and the moment you realize this, something exciting starts happening. Step 2, name your protagonist. Congratulations to all of you guys who have unique and cinematic names. My name is Yuvraj Singh, which was already taken up by a world-famous cricketer who first hit 6 sixes in a row. After that, he got diagnosed with cancer and then fought cancer and then wrote a book about it. So by the time I was making movies and my name would come at the end of a movie, people thought it's been made by a national hero. That's what I was competing with. My parents had an alternative name which was Yudhishthir, which made me sound like I would go to school on a horse. When actually I used to go to school in a Maruti 800, which is slightly better than a horse. So what could I do? I could have either competed with the guy, gotten more popular, best of luck with that, or I could have found myself a new title. Enter YUVRAJAAGO. The name essentially is a sentence. When translated in Hindi, it means, wake up Yuvraj. It's more like a joke. It's also a reminder for me to be on time, like this clock right here. But most importantly, what it does is that it makes me stand out. And in the industry that I work in, it's extremely important for you to get those extra 2 seconds of attention to get an edge over things. Even in life, it's nice to have an edge and, have a little spice to your name and stand out. So now we have a protagonist figured. We know what the name is. We move to my favorite step properly. Step 3, let tragedy strike. 3 years ago, I was at a very bad place in life. I had gone to Mumbai with big dreams, but the Mayan degree failed me. I wanted to make films, but all I was doing was cutting reels. I wanted to get a place to stay, but I couldn't. And to top that all off, I had a really bad breakup. So when I was this close to leaving the city, in came this teeny tiny lyric video with this small artist attached to it called Jaffa. The concept was very simple. It was a lyric video in which Jaffa, who's also broken up with her ex, is texting the lyrics to her ex. She's missing her ex, she's obsessed over her ex, she really wants to get the ex back, things I could relate to. So I decided to pick the project up. It looked something like this. These were the ideas. I started spending nights and days working on the project, and after editing for a while, I would then later go on to stalk my ex on social media because I was missing her and I was hoping she's not having as much fun as me, she's as sad. This gave me a sudden insight. I realized that if I just add an additional scene in the lyric video, which involves Jaffa stalking her ex on social media, which will suddenly open up a new world. Suddenly, you get to see a hint of the other character. And if you think about it, social media is, in its way, a storyteller of its own. So what was once just a lyric video suddenly turned into a psychological melodrama that replaced my therapy. For 3 months, I obsessively worked on this project day and night. And after giving my all to it, putting more of my life into this, more of my personal experiences into this, came the day when my bosses had to see the video. I'm the kind of person who doesn't want to reveal the magic trick, so I just showed them the final thing, but they didn't know what they were getting into. I was expecting to be shouted at or let go, but the moment they watched the movie, they had tears in their eyes. They had teared up. That day, I realized this one thing. If you put your heart and soul into your work, something special happens. But then I took this advice a little too seriously, and 3 months later, I found a beautiful house to stay at. My boss let me stay at his old mansion. Beautiful, spacious place, huge chandeliers in the washroom, royalty. It was perfect. No one in Mumbai gets to live in a place like this. But there's no better way to put this. That place was haunted. One day at 4 in the morning, I woke up. I was extremely sick. I got out of my bed, moved towards the kitchen, and the next thing I know, I'm staring at these beautiful white lights. There's a light show happening in front of my eyes. These lights, and then I'm hearing this ecstatic bliss, and suddenly I see these lights have turned into 2 lights, and they have then turned into a tube light. And I realize that I'm actually on my kitchen floor. I slowly get up, and I see there's a mess around me. There's boiling water that's spilled. There's hot tea that's spilled. Someone clearly messed up here. I quickly left. Don't worry, I won't leave the circle. I left the house, essentially the kitchen room. As I crossed the main hall, there was my house help screaming into my flatmate's room, "Muh jal gaya, muh jal gaya." I was like, lady, people are trying to sleep. It's 4 in the morning. Ignore this. I just left, jumped onto my bed, laid down, relaxed, and then I just played this whole thing in my head. She was screaming, "Muh jal gaya," which means his face is burnt. I got up, went into the mirror with all the chandeliers and all, looked at myself, and there it was. My face was burnt. I had 2 thoughts in my head at that moment. First thought was, I'm scarred for life. Thought number 2 was, this is the perfect idea for a music video. I've always wanted to make a horror video. I wanted to shoot something, so I decided, why not shoot it here, in fact? It's a great insight. And that's exactly what I did. My next video was Parchment Skin. That hallway is where I had crossed, essentially. And that's the other roommate. And this is not me, but it's exactly where the incident kind of happened. What I'm trying to say is, in life, you'll go through emotional and physical turmoil. It's inevitable. You can either cry about it, or you can turn it into the next insight for your big piece. Because at the end of the day, the scars, they faded away. The video, it remained. We have our protagonist going through the Agni Parikshas now, right? But what's a Yudhishthir without his Pandavas? Step 4. Find your Pandavas. After making this first video, I got a little ambitious. I wanted to make my sequel. You know how much I like my sequels, right? TED 2, you remember. So I decided, let's not do a solo one, let's team up. In this industry, there's this illusion that you need big professionals to make a big project happen. And I fell under it. So at first, I tried to get big names on board. But after a while, I realized no one really cared. It was too small a project. I was too small a name. So then I started looking around. And in came these passionate people like me who were soon to be future big names. I got my friend involved from college. I got a 17-year-old child prodigy who in the end ended up shooting all my videos. A guy from Kerala who could barely speak my language, but he was passionate about this. And suddenly, I had my team of Pandavas ready. That point onwards, every movie, every music video, everything I made, this was the team that went through this whole journey. And they are the ones turning into the big names next. The video, the sequel I was making, it did extremely well. The industry had seen nothing like it. In a world that was running on paychecks, our team was running on passion, and that showed. One such shoot happened much later. I was shooting one of my biggest shoots. It was at Salman Khan sir's farmhouse. And just a night before the shoot, this news came that there is a raining forecast. Now, in the shooting world, all you need is one bad shoot for your whole career to be in the ditches. I had a mini breakdown immediately. In came the Pandavas telling me, it's fine, relax, we'll figure it out. They talked me out of it, and I forgot about it. The next day, the shoot started. It was a sunny day, we take one shot, we take another shot, and it's going perfectly. I forgot about the rains, and the shoot was a success. We were shooting our last scene, it was a scene with the horses amongst the hills, and suddenly I hear thunder. I knew what was following next. It started to drizzle. I knew the shoot was done for. This was one of the most important scenes. In came the Pandavas. So now the team was divided into two parts. The Pandavas, which was my internal team, and the professionals, which was the external team, since it was a much bigger shoot. Most people started hiding the equipment and going inside. But the Pandavas, they got excited. They started dancing like peacocks do in the rain, as if this is exactly what the shoot requires. Next thing I know, we are all shooting in the rain, and I got some of the best shots from the music video. This is a behind the scenes of what we were doing with the horses, and this is Farhan, all of those people, that's me without a mustache. So I learned one thing that day, that you do need for bigger tragedies a team to back you, to push you forward. I found mine, and I was lucky enough to call them friends. That's my production house, by the way. All these people that I mentioned are right there. You must be wondering, all right, you figured your team out. That's something you can pick. But what about things we can't choose and pick? What about things we are born into? I'll take you to the final point, but before that, I'm going to now take you through a confidential deck that's been pitched to Netflix and Amazon, but you guys are going to be the first one to get a glimpse into this. It's a TV show idea that essentially revolves around Wing Commander V. Chaudhary. He is a military guy. He's a pilot. He's gone on rescue missions in Bihar and the Andamans. He's saved people from the tsunami. He is seen it all, done it all, flown the president from one place to the next, flown over the Republic Day parade. He is a legend. But after 25 years of serving his country, he has to do the unthinkable. He has to retire. And he has to go back to his mundane and tragic life. And so retire he does. He goes to his mundane life, and at first he is extremely taken aback. He's so used to his military lifestyle, right? But the next day what he decides to do is exactly what he's been doing for 25 years. Wakes up on time, does exactly what the military taught him to do. Next thing I know, this character is going on marathons, competing with people half his age but twice his size, going to the gym, working out. He's like a mini Rocky Balboa. And suddenly, over time, this guy has turned into a local phenomena, like a local hero in this little city of Jaipur. He also, on top of that, has to deal with his family, an atypical family, which looks something like these. These are the characters. We have Mr. Nahar, an 80-year-old man, his father, who thinks he's 30 because he has Alzheimer's. His hobby is to go off in the night wearing underwears and just disappear. That's what happens when you have Alzheimer's. You don't remember your house. Then there is Sharad, who believes that she can talk to the gods. She's religious. There is Abha, his wife, who thinks she's running a hotel, and she's stricter than the bosses he had in the military. There is Sheetal, who is as competent as she's rebellious, a father's worst nightmare. And there is Maruti. Just like Chao, Maruti is rusted and busted, but still to be trusted. His 25-year-old car that's still stuck with him. Lastly, there is another character called Yudhishthir, his son, who wants to be a filmmaker instead of a pilot. He's delusional. You must have guessed it by now. This is all my story. Everything you heard actually is real, which brings me to my final point. Let your family in on it. All these stories that I told you, it might have sounded absurd, but they're all real. That's me on the right, that's my dad on the left. And these things have all happened. My dad did actually survive a helicopter crash. A lot of them sounded fun, but a lot of them were actually quite tragic. My grandfather did go missing for 18 hours straight, and our families couldn't find him. He was just gone. He took his danda, and then he was wearing his underwear, and he vanished. And we were sleeping at home knowing he's not come back. On one hand, it was tragic, but now that I look back, I do find it a little humorous. And I choose to look at it from the humorous lens instead of the tragedy, right? Because there, this guy walking around in his underwear, confident, thinking, this is my city, I'll do whatever, because that's how the character is. So I could have picked a emotional route, but kahi na kahi, I decided, no, the lens I want to look at this from is a little more magical. One character I talked about was the Maruti 800. When I was a kid, my dad used to take me in the Maruti 800 to the school, right? But I was so embarrassed of the car that I used to get off 1 kilometer before because I didn't want my friends to see me in a Maruti 800. I would rather prefer a horse. So what I did is I used to walk all the way 1 kilometer every day, every day, every day. Eventually, I think my dad figured it out. So what he did one day, he sold the car for 50,000 rupees, less than like a phone. That day I cried. I realized this car that I've seen throughout my life, that's me by the way on the top, my sister. I've seen this car for 25 years of my life. It's respected the whole family. It's taken us through thick and thin, and I could never see it from the same respect. And I was genuinely heartbroken. But in the TV show, no one ever sells the car. And on top of it, the car has a little secret. The car is sentient. It is in its own way protecting the family. Just like the teddy bear from Ted, the movie, this car is alive. I didn't have the most unique name given to me, but I took a name and turned it into something that was unabashedly me. I didn't get my dream music video to work on, but I put my heart and soul into it and turned it into something that made people tear up. I didn't get the perfect family, but I got an atypical one, which is perfect for a sitcom. I didn't get the ideal vehicle to go to school in, but I got a Maruti 800 that was alive. In life, we'll go through all sorts of illusions to escape into. There are screens everywhere, there are small screens, big screens, Maya all over. But the greatest form of escapism is to escape into our own reality, see its potential, shape its narrative, and rise within it to become the protagonists that we were always meant to be. That's my talk. Thank you so much for having me.